Adam Francis, a young opportunist, decided to marry a wealthy 60-year-old woman, aiming to cleverly seize her entire fortune. However, he underestimated the woman's sharpness and overlooked the life lesson she would teach him. At the age of 23, Adam harbored a deep disdain for work, living off his parents' income for as long as he could. Realizing their son would stay indefinitely if given the chance, his parents forced him to find a job and move out of their home. Under pressure, Adam secured a position at a cafe, but he often arrived late and displayed noticeable rudeness toward customers. Inside, he felt unhappy and resented his lifestyle, craving money to buy expensive clothes and visit luxurious places, though his pockets were always empty. He also avoided spending his wages, relying on others to cover his bills and indulgences whenever possible. Despite appearing privileged, it was rare for anyone to pay for him. Overall, Adam lived a dull life, constantly shuttling between home and work. However, an unexpected customer at the cafe soon changed everything. He was used to serving ordinary workers, and regular people would typically come in, grab their drinks, and rush off to their destinations. However, this customer was different. A luxury vehicle pulled up in front of the cafe, and the driver stepped out to open the back door, allowing his employer to exit. Out of the car emerged a woman with white hair and distinguished features, clearly comfortable displaying her age. Her impeccable attire and elegant posture stood in stark contrast to Adam's youthful appearance. She walked straight to the line, patiently waiting her turn. Adam, who usually served customers one after another without even looking up at their faces, happened by chance to glance forward. His eyes met the sophisticated woman's, and he took in her fine clothing and the security guards accompanying her. He quickly realized she was no ordinary customer. In that instant, his attitude shifted dramatically, and an artificial smile immediately spread across his face, paired with overly polite words. "Good afternoon, how can I assist you on this beautiful day?" The woman simply requested an espresso for herself and a tea for her driver. Absorbing everything quickly and preparing the order himself, Adam underwent a transformation, displaying a level of competence he had never shown before at work as he handed over the drinks. As he handed over the hot drinks, Adam discreetly cast a flirtatious glance toward the woman, making her feel flattered. But he didn't stop there. "I can tell you're a very successful businesswoman," he said. "Is there any chance you could offer me an opportunity? I'm willing to take any position that would help me grow my career. I feel like I'm holding myself back here," Adam added, looking deeply into her eyes. This caught the woman by surprise, as she had only ordered a simple coffee. However, noticing his eagerness, she decided to give him a chance. She kindly pulled a business card from her purse and handed it to him before leaving. The card had her name and professional contact information. Realizing he had secured a potential opportunity, Adam felt a surge of excitement, something he hadn't experienced in years. The next morning, Adam gathered the courage to call the number on the card. "Miss Judy's office. How can I assist you?" answered a voice on the other end. Adam shared his story, and the secretary confirmed they had been expecting his call. A job interview was scheduled for the following day at 4 p.m., and without even knowing the position, Adam eagerly accepted. Determined to impress, Adam arrived early, even before the office had opened. His punctuality caught the attention of Miss Judy, the same woman from the cafe and owner of the business. Typically, she didn't conduct interviews in person, but the young man was so persistent that Miss Judy made an exception. The truth is, she was impressed by Adam, not because of his appearance, but due to his strong communication skills and unwavering determination to achieve his goals. Moreover, he dressed sharply and carried himself with a gentlemanly demeanor in any situation. Miss Judy had no doubt that she should hire him and place him in the sales department, responsible for personally approaching large companies to offer their products. Despite his lack of prior experience, she saw potential in him. Miss Judy was a remarkable leader, running one of the country's largest sports equipment networks, even though she had no interest in sports or business when she took over the company about 13 years ago, following her husband's death, who had been the founder. Though she lacked experience, the company flourished, leading everyone to believe she had a natural talent for management. Adam wasn't fully aware of all the details of her story, but he deduced some things from the old photos on Miss Judy's wall, which showed her alongside a man who appeared to be around her age. He also noticed that she wasn't wearing a ring. While she was clearly well-maintained, Adam estimated she was likely over 70 years old. This led him to hatch a plan. He decided to try and seduce the older woman, hoping to make her fall in love with him. He thought that, given her wrinkles, Adam, thinking about her age and the limited time she likely had left, devised a plan. He would marry her, wait a few years until her passing, and then inherit her substantial fortune and business empire. He felt no guilt about his intentions toward the kind woman who had extended a helping hand. The lies and manipulation he intended to use over the years didn't bother him, as he only focused on the large reward he anticipated. For him, the only goal was wealth and status, and the plan seemed to be working perfectly. For the first time in his life, Adam was truly dedicated. Despite his lack of experience in the job, he embraced his role as a salesman and successfully secured 2 major clients for the company, surprising everyone, including Miss Judy, with his sweet and polite demeanor. Adam skillfully manipulated those around him, persuading them to do what he wanted. The contracts he closed promised significant profits for Miss Judy, and as a reward, she decided to invite him to dinner at one of the finest restaurants in town as a way to motivate him further. It was at this dinner that Adam gave his best performance. He charmed and flattered Miss Judy throughout the evening until she finally gave in to his advances, responding to his flirtations. They spent the meal in deep conversation, with Adam fabricating a story about his supposed journey of personal growth, while she shared memories of founding the company with her late husband. And a few weeks later, after going out several times and getting to know each other more, Adam decided to take a bold step. He waited for the right moment and asked Miss Judy if she would be his girlfriend. The look of surprise and astonishment was evident on her face. Despite their frequent outings, he had always been respectful and hadn't even tried to kiss her, so a proposal for a relationship was unexpected. She initially tried to resist, saying it would be absurd for a boss to date an employee, but Adam, using his persuasive charm, managed to secure a yes as her final response. Miss Judy was astonished that a young man like him would want to be with a woman her age, but she was so happy that she didn't dwell on it. She simply accepted the proposal and celebrated throughout the night. Adam knew that his plan was unfolding as expected, but the next phase needed to be executed with extreme caution to avoid revealing his true intentions. He fully committed to the relationship, taking her to places she hadn't even known existed. Adam showed her hidden gems in the city and tourist spots he had always wanted to visit but could never afford. With all the affection and attention he showered on the elderly woman, it was only a matter of time before Miss Judy would fall deeply in love with him. Adam made her feel more alive than ever. With him, she experienced new adventures, met fascinating people, and rediscovered the true meaning of life. Whether she wanted to admit it or not, her late husband had always been more focused on business than family. Despite always being by her side, he wasn't the most attentive spouse. He had chosen not to have children, even getting a vasectomy when he was young, to avoid future complications, leaving Miss Judy without heirs. After his death, she felt even more isolated, turning all her attention to the business. In light of this situation, she decided to do something entirely out of character, an extravagant gesture unlike anything she would typically do. She rented the most luxurious suite in the city for the weekend and invited Adam without disclosing the reason. Adam was stunned when he arrived at the hotel by helicopter, having never flown before and unaware of what awaited him. Miss Judy, who had been waiting for him, called him to join her, and after a few moments, she made the most unexpected decision of her life. On the hotel terrace, she proposed to Adam. His initial shock quickly turned into a resounding yes, leaving Miss Judy overjoyed, tears in her eyes. Adam had never imagined his plan would work so well that she would be the one to propose marriage herself. However, despite all her happiness, Miss Judy couldn't help but notice the rude way Adam treated the hotel staff member who knocked on their door to welcome them. Although she thought it might have just been her imagination, and perhaps he wasn't actually being rude, it raised a red flag in her mind, prompting her to pay closer attention to his future behavior. What she didn't immediately realize, though, was how much money Adam had been spending every week on unnecessary items since they started dating. He began wearing designer clothes and watches that looked like jewelry. Adam was already acting like a true millionaire, as if adapting to a luxurious lifestyle came naturally to him. This went unnoticed by the older woman, as she didn't regularly check her bank balance or credit card statements. However, the bank manager, who had been handling her finances for years, noticed unusual transactions and promptly called to ensure everything was in order. Although Judy had been wealthy for decades, she was born in a small, humble town in the countryside. She had always been hardworking, taking on various jobs before her late husband's company became successful. In fact, she was the one who supported the household during the years when her husband's business was nothing more than a concept on paper. She continued working and dedicating part of her income to Judy, had invested her earnings into her husband's dream, believing that with such perseverance, it would eventually succeed. And it did. After years of dedication, the company started to generate profits, and Judy ceased working as a laundress, becoming the majority shareholder. After her husband's tragic death, she became the sole owner of the entire empire. However, her long history of struggle made her indifferent to her wealth. She invested solely in her own business, neglecting the mansions, cars, and jewelry she could have afforded, and limited herself to essential comforts. Extravagant acts like renting a luxurious hotel and helicopter to pick up Adam were rare, if not entirely unique. Despite this, Adam and Judy's wedding was simple, with no grand celebration, just a modest dinner at their home. Because of this simplicity, the bank manager contacted her to confirm whether the recent large withdrawals were indeed authorized by her, as he had never seen such significant amounts taken from her account before. At that moment, Judy began to question and doubt her current husband's true intentions. Suspicious of his long phone calls and extended absences, sometimes lasting days, she started to fear that he might be interested only in her money. This uncertainty gnawed at her, causing her to live in constant anxiety. Fearing she had been deceived all these months, Judy realized she had made a mistake marrying the young man. To try and calm her anxieties and clear her doubts, she decided to hire a private investigator through a friend. The investigator tracked Adam for several weeks, documenting his daily activities with photographs. When the humble woman received the final report from the investigator, she could hardly believe what she was seeing. Due to his impressive skills, Adam had been transferred to another branch of the company a few months earlier to oversee other managers and employees. However, the truth was that he had stopped showing up to work weeks ago. While he was supposedly leaving the elderly woman's home daily to go to work, he was actually meeting another woman and attending parties and restaurants almost every week. In summary, he was constantly deceiving Miss Judy. To make matters worse, he used her fortune and the company credit card to buy excessively expensive gifts for his lover. The tears streaming down the elderly woman's face were insignificant compared to the look of betrayal as she saw all those photos and bank transactions. Her trust was shattered, the result of an attempt to start anew that turned out to be a complete disaster, leaving her feeling more used and deceived than ever. How could he do this to me? She pondered, reflecting on her own naivety and how she had been blinded by the allure and charm of a handsome young man. Despite the overwhelming sadness she felt, she knew she couldn't let this situation stand. She immediately began to devise a plan to give Adam, the deceitful and self-interested man, his comeuppance. Determined not to let him get away with it, her first step was to cancel all his personal credit cards and terminate his association with the company, though she did not inform him of this. When Adam tried to pay for a dinner with his lover using one of the cards, the payment was declined. He was initially incredulous, dismissing it as a mistake by the card operator and blaming the restaurant staff, offering another card instead. After 3 failed attempts, the embarrassment and tension escalated, creating a tense atmosphere. "I bet this is due to your incompetence. If you worked for my company, you'd be fired right now," Adam told the humble and friendly waiter, who could only apologize and said he would return shortly. When he came back, he was accompanied by the restaurant manager, who asked if Adam had cash to cover the bill, since it was clear the cards were having issues. Adam attempted to call his wife, Miss Judith, but she didn't answer at all, leaving him stranded. Faced with the threat of police involvement and the risk of spending the night in jail, the situation grew even more dire. Adam handed over his documents and phone to the manager, promising to return the next day to settle the bill in order to avoid further embarrassment in the crowded restaurant. The manager agreed to this arrangement. Adam was furious and couldn't understand what had happened, but in his mind, his plan was still proceeding perfectly, just as he had intended. He decided to move forward and handle the situation as best as he could. Upon arriving home, he questioned his wife about the situation and the unanswered calls. She claimed ignorance, suggesting it might be a problem with the bank, and assured him she would resolve it the next day. Adam tried to mask his frustration, but his anger was evident. It was at this moment that Mrs. Judy saw the real Adam, stripped of the charm she had previously seen. She realized what he truly cared about and was determined not to let his lies and deceit go unpunished. The following day, Adam did go to the bank, but not to resolve the credit card issue. Instead, he altered their prenuptial agreement and changed the terms of her inheritance. With no children and her family already deceased, there had always been speculation about the fate of her wealth and business, which were now kept confidential between her lawyer, and the bank manager. Unfortunately, Adam's vengeful plans were abruptly cut short by a sudden death. Only a few close employees were aware. But Judy, she had been battling cancer for about 3 years, with periods of improvement and deterioration. Aware that her time was running out and that her end was near, the elderly woman passed away feeling sad and betrayed by the last person she trusted. However, knowing she was about to say goodbye forever, she left a letter for her loyal chauffeur, outlining her final wishes and instructions for him. After his wife's death, Adam assumed the role of a grieving widower, donning an expensive black suit and dark glasses to hide his lack of tears and ensure no one noticed his true emotional state. The will was read during her wake, as requested in Mrs. Judy's letter. The venue was filled with company employees and shareholders, all concerned about the future of the business. The document began by thanking everyone for their presence and expressed that she would now find true happiness by reuniting with her late husband in another realm where they could be together for eternity. This statement made Adam uneasy as everyone stared at him. Regarding the company, it was decided that it would be divided equally among all current shareholders. The will acknowledged the continuous support provided to the elderly woman and praised the good. The new orientations and decisions made by the board resulted in a company that was more robust and influential than ever before, highlighting the trust placed in the board to carry on this legacy. Regarding the fortune, the revelation shocked everyone by disclosing that the amount in her bank account was far greater than previously believed. Although many considered her innocent and inexperienced in business, the reality was that she had become a formidable investor over the years, achieving remarkable returns from investments and sales of other businesses she helped establish. However, this wealth was not intended to benefit individuals, but to fund the creation of a non-profit organization dedicated to helping homeless children. This organization would not only provide housing, food and clothing until the age of 18, but also ensure access to education at prestigious universities and opportunities to work at one of the associated companies. The same expression of anger and frustration that Adam had shown the previous day reappeared on his face as the reading progressed. He was outraged at not inheriting any part of the company or the fortune. His anxiety grew as the details of the properties and cars, collectively worth far more than he could ever spend in a lifetime, were revealed. However, to his surprise, the will revealed that these assets would be sold and the proceeds would be donated to existing charitable institutions. When the will mentioned Adam, it included an extensive expression of gratitude. The late Mrs. Judy made it clear how significant Adam had been in her life, stating that he had provided her with incredible and unique experiences, explored beautiful places, and introduced her to things and people she never imagined existed. For this reason, she expressed her appreciation. Additionally, Mrs. Judy mentioned her belief that she had brought happiness to Adam and left him one of the most meaningful items she could. She gave him a key that, according to the will, would grant access to a safe at the country's most prestigious bank. An ironic smile appeared on Adam's face as he anticipated acquiring a collection of jewelry or property titles. At Judy's final tribute, everyone applauded, believing that Adam had likely received the largest share of the inheritance. Days passed, and with the sale of properties and cars, Adam decided to visit the bank to check on the much-anticipated inheritance. He was warmly received by the manager, who escorted him to the safe located on the bank's most secure floor. To ensure privacy, the employees left him alone in the room, asking him to call them when he was ready to leave. The intense anxiety, Adam hurriedly opened the steel safe, hoping to find diamonds and other jewels. However, what he discovered inside nearly made him recoil. The safe contained an espresso cup, the very one Adam had served to Mrs. Judy on the day they met. The coffee was cold and accompanied by a simple note that read, "I hope you enjoy the bitterness. With love, your late wife." In that moment, Adam understood the message. She had always known about his plans. The gesture of the coffee was a mocking reply, a way of confronting all his deceit and betrayals with nothing more than a bitter cup of coffee. Adam couldn't believe it. He had come full circle, now without money or a job. Devastation overwhelmed him as he cried out in despair, unsure of what to do next. His deception had been uncovered, and he became notorious throughout the city for the embarrassment he caused. He never achieved the social rise he had so desperately sought, and even the cafe where he had worked was unwilling to take him back. As Mrs. Judy passed away, she felt content knowing that she had already found her soulmate in her previous life, her late husband. She realized that Adam had been nothing more than an opportunist who ultimately failed to achieve his goals. If you enjoyed this content, please like the video. The story on the screen right now is sure to touch your emotions as well. Enjoy the session and see you in the next video.